All right, this is episode 7, Talk a Lot Pod. We got 478 TV, Talk a Lot TV, man. We got 2 special guests with us today, man. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, so we trying to spread a little awareness, man. We got 2 guests on here with 2 mental health organizations here in Macon, and I want to, spread the platform and, try to spread some awareness today. So, you guys introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Nancy Cleveland. I'm the executive director of Macon Headspace, and I'm a Maconite that got adopted and moved back and has been trying to get connected to the community, but has also benefited from a lot of the resources that have come about since I've been here.
And I'm Andrea Cook. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and my greatest joy is that I get to raise my 8 babies.
8? I'm sorry for interrupting. 8? You got 8 kids?
I do, and I birthed them. Okay, let me make sure and they are none are twins. And I get the pleasure of being the development director for the Southern Center for Choice Theory, and I'm the project director for the Macon Mental Health Matters Initiative.
Okay. So, just first time on the show, new audience. So, kind of let the people know a little bit about yourself,
Okay. Well, like I said, my name is Nancy Jo. I was born in Macon, but I got adopted. I was actually taken by defects when I was 2 months. Let's see, ended up in the Bronx. I was in foster care for about 3 years. And
You got the accent.
yeah, I re-up it too, so it's not going nowhere. And then, my mom was living on the streets the whole time I was growing up. So fast forward to about 26 years old, I decided to move back to Macon to help my mom. Didn't really know what that looked like at the time, but I ended up adopting her to get her off the streets. And so she's been clean and sober for like 3+ years now, and going through that whole guardianship process, I was able to get her a public guardian. So now she's good and taken care of for the rest of her life, which was very different from how I saw her growing up. But that process was so draining. I started thinking about what are some resources that could be in Macon that maybe she would have benefited from and not gone so far, or that I could have benefited from while I was trying to do it. Because I would be on my lunch break looking for her to go get her social security card or something like that. It was a lot. So I came up with this. I didn't come up with the idea. I want to say that too, because I get so sick of these people saying people copying me. Okay, we're on Earth, but
We are on Earth.
So I did research, and I saw that this lady was doing mental health pop-up gyms, but in major cities like San Fran, LA, blah blah blah. And I was like, that's it. I want to do a mental health pop-up gym. Applied for a grant at the time. I got $5,000. They trained me and everything, and I came back to do the event. And then COVID hit. So I was like, dang, I'm trying to gather people right at the time when you can't gather people. So I turned Macon Headspace into a website instead, and I was like, I'm just going to put the resources up there. So I made a map, and I mapped out all the therapists that I could find and put it on the map, and put some other stuff up on there. And at the time, I had tried to partner with another major mental health organization here, but it just did not go well. The culture is important. And then also, when you're working with traumatized people, it's very easy to traumatize them again with your corporate capitalistic BS sometimes. So I needed to find the right partner, but I didn't know that at the time. And so luckily God knew. So once that deal fell through, I just kept up with the website, and then Andrea. And so me and Andrea knew each other. We was always talking, but we hadn't done any work. And so Clubhouse came out. Remember it was popping? She decided to have a Clubhouse about mental health in Macon. And so I was like, all right, bet, I'm definitely going to be there. She's like, you got to be there. You got to help me moderate and everything. I'm like, okay. And it so happens the mayor popped in at that time. And I don't know, we were just going off. It was
like a 3 hour.
It was like a 3 hour thing. And so after that, I think he said, send me something or whatever. And Andrea was like, bet. So she, typed up a draft, sent it to me.
No, I didn't.
You did?
Well, eventually.
It
was, remember, I don't know where we were, and I just get a text message from him saying, meet me in my office today at 3:00. And then me, you, and and Christelle. I was like, can y'all go with me? And we went to his office, and then he asked. I didn't type it up. Like, I just thought he was BSing us, honestly.
Gotcha.
I really did.
You know, I do remember that. Damn, my life be doing so much behind the scenes. I forgot about that. Well, you're right. We did go in that office.
We did,
and we
yeah.
were sitting there we didn't know what that man wanted.
We did know. It was like, be in my office at 3:00 today. And I was like, well, how do you know we ain't got nothing else to do? But we didn't.
We figured it out. Like, okay. And that's like, me and Christelle, too, like, we just, like, we was really, like, on some Robin and Batgirl stuff. Because we were like, okay, Andrea, like, let's go. Like,
So-
Charlie's Angels.
So, Andre, how did you get into, mental health, so to speak?
So even before I wanted to be a social worker, my mom is a social worker. So she's a licensed master social worker, and she's also a licensed mental health counselor. So she's double licensed. And so giving all praises to my mom, Dr. Cisse.
Dr. Cisse.
And so I went to the Fort Valley State University.
Okay.
And I got my bachelor's in social work. And so I was perfectly content being a social work administrator, meaning I knew that I had the skills of social services, but I was highly focused on being an administrator. So doing development, finding funding, grant writing, stuff like that. So just before... Maybe in 2014, 15, we had been running a mental health practice for a few years, and my mom was like, I'm going to retire in 5 years. So this was in 2016, she didn't retire. And so she told me I needed to get my master's. And so I applied and I went to Mercer and got my master's in marriage and family therapy. And immediately went into a doctoral program after I finished that. So I'm a doctoral candidate at Keene State at Antioch University in Keene, and it's coming. And but I'm highly focused on this concept of being a community therapist, and so I believe that one positive interaction with somebody can impact them long term. Is kind of like the butterfly effect. If and I try to see every person that I come into contact with. So, but I mean, of course, I have a RBF, so most people think that I'm not the kindest person, but I really am, and until I'm not. But
She's really nice. She's nice to me.
I'm kind to you because kindness coming from me.
No, I say you're nicer than me. She's nicer, kinder. She treats people well. And I'm learning from her.
I try. And I believe that when people lash out, it's because of some traumatic experience they've had. It's not because that they want to not be kind. It doesn't come first nature for them. And so my mom gave me a lot of space, room, and opportunity to be exactly who I wanted to be. She's always reinforced that however I show up in a room is the way that I was supposed to, and God sent me there. So make sure that I walk in just like that. So some people see that as maybe conceited, and you can call it what you like, but I don't ever have to. I'm always self-aware and self-assured because of what my mom gave me, and so I try and give a little bit of that to other people, and I even let other people share my mom a little.
Right, you gotta throw that in there.
A little bit.
So we was talking a little bit off camera, and
A lot off camera.
and in the so-called black community, we were just talking about just the lack of awareness of mental health,
Right.
and it's it's different stigmas, but today let's try to define mental health. So how would you guys define mental health?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm formally in that.
So for me, mental health is the absence of mental illness, and so I think that people lump mental illness and mental wellness together, or mental health, and there's a distinct difference between the two, and so all of us, should be striving to be mentally healthy, but because of some of our experiences, whether it's self-inflicted pain sometimes causes us to be mentally ill, but or whether it's something that our parents caused us, and a lot of us are hopefully trying to heal from what our parents did to us. But my definition of mental health is the absence of mental illness.
I guess for me, I would say mental health is just like the state of being of your mind. Mm-hmm. And then I'm more of an advocate for mental wellness. I had to even realize that, like, as I was going, like, what am I trying to say? I'm more about, like, formulating an environment that helps sustain your mental health, you know, and that could be therapy, meditation, journaling, exercising, tapping. There's just so many things out there. Aromatherapy. I don't care what it is. Just do something. So that because most people are dealing with therapy because of other people not going to therapy.
Right.
So it's like, if you're not going to do that, just create some type of formula to create your own headspace. And that's the whole thing about making headspace. So I will refer you to therapists and centers like Southern Center for Choice Theory, but I'm promoting mental wellness, and that's a part of that is treating your mental health.
Yeah, I agree.
Y'all tag team.
Oh, always. I mean, what else is there to do? That was the ultimate tag team. High five. So after I went through the BS with the other mental health provider, and then COVID hit, and I got the website going, Andrea and I have the clubhouse. We talk. We meet in the mayor's office. Then she writes the proposal. Sends me the proposal. I add a little something. She gets it all juiced up, real Fort Valley, like elevated, you know, ready to send it to the city. It gets approved. Bam, $600,000 to fund what becomes Making Mental Health Matters. She gives me a $45,000 contract. My company, Gale Consulting, starts, and we start doing these pop-up gyms. So at the time, I was like, okay, Making Headspace Mental Health Pop-Up Gyms, because it was coming from that original grant idea, and it evolved into the Making Mental Health Matters pop-up gyms. And the city started keeping those events. And it went from me doing one event to having basically 24, because we ended up doing one every Saturday for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And then it evolved into people and pets.
Yeah.
So now, in addition to the mental health pop-up gym, where we still have all the basic components of the mental health pop-up gym, you can now bring your pet. And Mercer will give them a microchip, vaccinate them. They'll also check your blood pressure, your health, and everything. So it's like even more of a mental health pop-up gym. Like now it's like just health, like in general, for you, your pet, your dog. And we have services there in addition to the yoga, meditation, drum circles, healthy food that we had before. So partnering with the right person elevated it, got me a check, and then it also started helping with my mental health, because my shit started unraveling once we got involved in this. I mean, it was just so much. I went through like a bad breakup, and then I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and then my mom died, and so I just like could not perform at the same capacity that I came into it with, and so I had to let the reins go. But that was hard too. I was like, Andrea, you kicking me out? You don't care about me? I took my baby and just went off with it. And so, you know, luckily her being a therapist, she was like, all right, you know. Got to bring out the little making in me a little bit, but, you know, just chill out, you know, go treat yourself, whatever. And she had real conversations with me, like, I'm holding this for you to make it better, and when you're better, you could come back. And, like, I don't know how you're able to do that. Like, how are you able to see past the trauma that's coming at you? Because most people I know just stop talking to me.
I mean, if you want me to stop talking to you, I can.
Not at all.
Like, how did you develop that patience? And that listening, the 8 kids, that makes a lot of sense.
They did it, because pre-8 kids, I ain't had no patience for nobody. If you didn't, I prefer to call myself Bugetto, but if I didn't have any use for you, then I ain't had no use for you. And that was not in a good way or a bad way, it was just a way. And so I met my husband at the Fort Valley State University, and my husband is completely opposite of me. 100% loyal, but extroverted, and but he did like everything that I needed. He did. He was that for me. So I have a great mom, and I have a twin brother who is probably very much like my husband, but in a more in your face, curse every other word kind of way. But he's never been afraid to be himself either. So I just kind of, I get to be this person because of the people who surround me, and like they'll allow me to show up this way. And so, like I said, I am very kind until I'm not, and I make the decision whether or not I'm going to be kind or not. I don't allow anybody else to make it for me. Plus, I always believe what happened to you versus, what's wrong with you.
So I wanted to define mental illness, specifically in our community. Like how do you see, or how does mental illness personify, to you guys?
You don't see the hood? No, I'm kidding.
Besides, just like, the definitely violence has been risen and stuff like that. But besides,
it's not the violence was the least of it. I'm talking about like the way you keep the environment you're in. Like, how mentally ill you have to be to like live in like dirt and blight and roaches and like, you know what I'm saying? That's an expression of it. That's an expression of it, bro. It is like, because you're not thinking of yourself as worthy enough and healthy enough to have a worthy, healthy environment. That's where it starts for me. And I think for like, I would always see that stark contrast because I grew up in New York, in the Bronx. Once I got adopted,
but rats.
Yeah, nothing but big ass rats outside though. They outside. Like then I got to Macon and I'm like, I can't even sleep here. There's roaches everywhere. They flying out the cabinet. I'm like, and then they be like, why are you so scared of something so little? Why are you not? What is going on? This is normal to you? They just flicking off roaches and pouring cereal and shit. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's
trauma. Mental illness.
I think it's a Southern thing. I mean, we used to seeing bugs everywhere. So
no, it's different when it's all over your house. I'm talking about roach infested houses. I'm not talking about 1, 2 roaches.
Well, what you prefer though? Will you prefer roaches or you prefer rats?
Rats are not in my house. That's the thing.
I don't know that I want to choose
I would prefer neither. I don't want the roaches in my house or the rats in my house. See, y'all see rats in the subway. Y'all see rats in movies. You never seen a rat chilling in the kitchen.
But I feel like people like they feel like they really don't own nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you do your research, like the Pleasant Hill community, they redlined the highway through it. So it's kind of like I guess people really don't see the point of making those sacrifices and building generations worth of things just for it to kind of.
Well, what I'm alluding to is like not even that deep. Like, cause even like, let's like stop being so extra right now. I'm talking to myself. Like, take out the rats and roaches, right? Even in New York where I grew up, you didn't have rats and roaches, but it was basically almost borderline hoarding. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely understood that because after my mom passed, I had to clean that apartment out. And it's like I didn't even see how it was, cause like I was just like, this is her house, this is how the house is. But it's like it's not normal for your drawer to be full of junk. It's not normal for you to stuff things over in the corner. We do that because I don't think we've been trained how to organize, how to keep the house. And so it spills from the inside the house to the outside, or maybe it spills from the outside to the inside. Either way, I think that to me and like how you're caring for yourself, hygiene, what you're eating, all of that is like kind of the first to me layer of when mental illness is coming out. And that to me in the Black community is stuff that we just normalize.
And with that, did your mother have a significant other? My
birth mother or the one that passed in New York?
The one who was hoarder.
No, she never got married.
Do you feel like that was part of, she had attachment issues?
Like she was attached to the stuff and not a man?
Yes.
No, I think she got sexually molested when she was a child. Mm-hmm. I think that she went through a lot of racism and she lived in poverty, and somehow that changed her relationship with men. And then I believe the poverty, because she used to always talk about, she grew up in Tybee in Macon, and they had a two-room shack with a nail on the wall for you to hang your 2 outfits, right? So I think going from that level of poverty to making it to New York and feeling like you're on your own, she just felt this need to acquire stuff and fill up the house to make up for all the stuff she didn't have when she was younger.
Because she had less. Okay.
That's my theory, though. I mean, we would have to ask her. I don't know.
I think she probably did have attachment issues.
Okay, what you think?
I do. I think. Okay, I think that there's this connection with people who hoard. Like you either had some relationship break at some point in your life, and because of that relationship that you'll never get back, you try and hold on to everything you get. So all those memories you keep, like people keep receipts for, and they fade. So there's no point in keeping receipts. Not as long as some people do. Magazines, things like that people keep and try and make it seem like it's some type of memory, keepsake. That is usually associated with a great loss. And
do you know what's a little creepy about y'all saying this, right? I just spent like a year cleaning out the house, right? Of course, she had all that, all the old bills, all the old magazines, and all that, whatever. And I noticed the dates. It starts around 1980, 1988, which is when I was born, which is when everything started going downhill with my birth mom. And I often thought that she adopted me to kind of make up for my birth mom, like, going left, because she was supposed to be the prodigal daughter. Like, she had graduated from Spelman, and she was like working at Warner Robins Air Force Base, all this. So it's like, then she adopted me, and I feel like my birth mom, like, getting sick and ended up on the street was like her great loss, because she was like she always talked about how she helped raise her, and so it's like, I can see that correlation now, because I feel like the hoarding starts like kind of at that time from the dates that I'm seeing on everything. So that makes sense. And then it's all my stuff too. I found everything in there.
What mental illnesses or mental health issues have you guys personally dealt with in the past to, give you guys this experience that you have?
So I have an anxiety disorder. Most people see me and see how calm I am and think that I'm just like, no, you don't have anxiety. And I'm like, I absolutely do. Like all the time, I'm kind of like a duck, how they're moving really fast. And so I have these really rapid thoughts, and I worry a lot. So when after having, I think, my 5th child, I got this really, I was so super afraid of tornadoes. Like, not in a normal, and I hate to say normal because that's stigmatizing, but not in a way that would keep me safe. I was so irrationally afraid that if there were just a few clouds in the skies, I couldn't go pick my kids up from school. I could not leave my house. And so because I was one of those people who I was running a mental health practice. My mom is a counselor, but I wouldn't go see a counselor. I'm like, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. So one day I was supposed to be in the carpool lane, and I could not find anybody else to go and pick up my kids. And I broke down. I was like, I'm not the mom that is late to pick my kids up from school. So I went to counseling and worked through the irrational fear. And so now, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to drive over here in the rain to come in and do an interview like this. But I saw how therapy changed my life. And having somebody who didn't know me, but also didn't judge me, it completely inspired me to be able to do the work that I get to do. But so anxiety for me, and then I have a sister who has bipolar disorder. It's hard to watch somebody that you love who goes through all those changes, because some of the things that happen is like you trade one addiction for another when you sometimes when you have bipolar disorder. And so it can go from a food addiction to a sex addiction. And so a lot of the stuff that happened that I witnessed with my sibling, it was hard to watch, but it was something that I needed to see. And plus it helped me have more empathy for other people, because what I know for a fact is that when she was manic, she was at her best. She felt amazing. Mania makes you feel like you can do anything, like nobody can stop you. And she accomplished a lot of things when she was manic. And then the sadness that comes with that drop. I mean, because it's one day you're manic and the next day it is complete and utter depression. Why am I here? Absolute sadness. And so to see that and then try and raise your kids and then still go to work and having to do all that stuff, and because in our community we don't seek help enough, we'll seek medication before we seek talking to somebody about some of the things that we experienced as children. So I hope I answered your question.
Let me see. Why run the medication first before coming to see someone?
I don't know, because
that's the medical culture.
That's
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People are more
They'll be
accepting.
like the kid got ADHD, give him some Ritalin, and he can't talk to nobody. He 3.
Right.
It's our culture.
But that's more socially acceptable to say that I'm taking medication versus saying that I am telling all of my family secrets to somebody, when traditionally in Black and brown communities we're told what stays in our house. What happens in our house stays in our house. Mm-hmm. And then we have this whole culture of not snitching. And so if you go to a counselor, I mean, you're telling your deepest, darkest.
Like the Sopranos.
That's a good point.
Everybody was mad at Tony. How the mob boss gonna go talk to a therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But with that, you go into someone that you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that person can't judge you, or they don't know your background, so ain't no room to judge.
Yeah, but the people who you know that you tell you're going to therapy, they judge.
They judge.
The stigma is coming from the people around you, not the people trying to help you.
But why should the people that around you, why you should care about them when you seeking your help for yourself? I
mean, it's a barrier though. Like that.
Well, let's really break that down. I mean, especially you got to ask them for a ride. Mm-hmm. Think about our people. And then also the community. It's not like you walking into the office. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not accessible to us. It is something that you got to tell people you're doing. What if you have kids? What if you need a babysitter? Like, what if your parents are expecting you to be home? Like, Black communities, despite the rumors, we're actually really tight-knit. Mm-hmm. Especially your family if you live in the house with them. So it's like, who's going to be gone for an hour and you don't know where they at?
Right.
But sometimes you got to take that sacrifice. You probably can bring it home to help others.
If you're an adult, you can. We talk about people under 18. You can't even go to a therapist on your own.
And also with that, what you saying, but they with, like you said, 18, which you talking about changing the environment.
Yeah.
But sometimes with the age you are saying, you can't change your environment because of your age.
Yeah.
So they say, like you say, I'm hoarder. But I'm like in my teens, I'm developing. There go conflicts of interest right there.
Yes, but that's also why I'm saying that what you're describing is how the stigma ends up stopping people. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because just think about that kid, the room's all messy, whatever it is that they're going through. They could have got raped, okay? Mm-hmm. They're not saying nothing because that requires me expressing that to people, admitting that I need help, admitting something's wrong, and then also you're going to admit it to people who tell you take Robitussin and take a nap. It's good. Drink some ginger ale. You're going to be fine. Don't tell nobody what Uncle Jimmy did. So that's all the reasons why we're not getting help. It's not just because like we don't want it or we're too concerned about what other people think. There's all these cultural barriers to it. Yeah. And then there's no counseling in your neighborhood. I feel like a lot of people would probably sneak off if there was somewhere to sneak.
A lot of people do sneak off now that there's somewhere for them to sneak.
Let's say there was a therapist's office in the hood. There'd be a lot of people going through the back door. But there is none in walking distance in our zip codes is what I'm trying to say.
With that therapy, like you're saying, with areas, they supposed to be the organization, like in Pleasant Hill. They have a whole basketball gym or wherever.
And we put mental health services in there.
Yeah, them are the places they're supposed to be.
Yeah, but see, supposed to be. That's a real strong word. Up until we started this initiative, you didn't have no free mental health counseling. Mm-hmm. It took 3 Black women to get together and to fight for this against a lot of people saying no. And a lot of people got mad that we got any money. And a lot of people to this day don't talk to us. What are you talking about? And that was just to give people free therapy. Yeah. That was a battle.
But why is it not that? It just why people don't hear about it. Like why people don't know about it.
I was just about to say I'm just not really finding out about it.
Could y'all tap into stuff like 478 Barbies and not what we got going on? That's really what it is. Whenever there's like some fish fry or some, I didn't even know gangs threw parties until I moved down here. Everybody know about that. But it's like, so it's the information that you seek will find you too.
But it's just like also marketing. Marketing is a big play in any business.
We got billboards, commercials. The actual Macon Bibb County City government runs the program. They put it in newsletters. We actually have bus stop ads up. We have benches up. We're on your podcast. We've done several radio interviews. We've been on TV, been on WMAZ, 41 NBC. Flyers in the school.
Exactly. Your way of marketing is not the way that the people you're trying to target.
So what's your way of marketing?
Yeah, tell us what we need to do.
Because now is nobody look at billboard. People don't hardly take the bus anymore.
What do we need to do?
What you need to do.
No. Seriously, this is a solution-based conversation. What avenues have we not tapped? Because we wondering.
Yeah.
Have y'all been on social media?
Oh, heavy. Yeah, I got like 1,000 followers on my page.
On what?
On Making Headspace Facebook page.
Facebook?
Yeah.
That's no.
So we need to grow TikTok,
Instagram, Twitter. These are places that kids are on a lot. Facebook is more local. So with Facebook being more local, you're not going to get a broader audience if you're not talking about messy stuff.
Okay, so whoever's hearing this and you want to be a social media manager, I'll hire you. I'll pay you $15 an hour for you to come hook up the Instagram, the TikTok, and the Twitter. Because guess what? We ain't got time. I just answered. I didn't even answer your other question. What mental illnesses have we dealt with in our life? Yeah. I got diagnosed with bipolar in November 2021. And my sister has schizoaffective disorder. My mother got diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So my whole life is adopting my mom and trying to help her and supporting my family, trying to support my own mental health journey, starting medications, which is hell, and all the other stuff. And in the midst of that, we still launched this program. But also in the midst of that, we still have some people telling us like, and that's not, I'm not offended at all. I really take the feedback, but telling us like what we haven't done and what we could do. But I've never really seen too many people other than the people on the team, like Maisha and Rhonda, offer to help or offer to advertise. I even know people that be on the radio. They've never talked about it. So I just feel like sometimes it doesn't seem like the cool, hot thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
like me personally, like, you know, I know we're talking a little bit off camera. I dealt with a lot of mental health issues, and even with my interviews, you know, I kind of talk through to the people in different ways, like with the music and different arts that they doing, but it's still based around, you know, your story on how you got them. And a lot of people deal with mental health and stuff like that. But, yeah, I have. I got different people that I know who struggle with mental health. You know, I deal with anxiety myself. I think I got post-traumatic stress disorder. But it's definitely something that I want to spread awareness on. I feel like people, you know, they downplay it a lot. And in Macon, you know, I really see a lot of people dismiss it, but I feel like we have a strong presence of mental illness in our community.
Oh, yeah, we definitely do.
I don't think the kids do it. I think it's more of the adults that do it.
No, it's would that downplay it?
Yeah, a little bit more. I feel like adults do it more than kids. Kids,
they accept it. They young people have no problem telling their friends that they need to talk to a counselor. So, the majority of the people who come in for these no-cost mental health services are young people. And we end up having to, send permission slips so that we can talk to them, because they're coming in and from jump, they're telling us stuff that, we didn't even know that 11 and 12-year-olds were dealing with. And then when you consider how that 10-year-old died by suicide here just a few months ago, it's even more imperative that we create an environment where it's, okay for kids to talk about what's going on with them. And so the adults really have to step up and do a better job of talking about how we're not always mentally together. I mean, and I made this post on Facebook a few days ago, and it's amazing because I made one post on Monday saying that we were gonna do a proclamation. We got over 100 reactions. I don't have a whole lot of Facebook friends, so that's more than 10% of the people who I'm friends with reacted to that. But then when I came back, and I wanted people to understand that when people see me and feel like I'm just all put together, that it takes a lot. Like I get to show up in the way that I get to show up because there are people who I send my laundry out. I don't do my own laundry. My house would be in complete dishevel if somebody didn't come in and clean it up. Because I'm the youngest of 5 kids. I never had to clean up. I don't really cook. I could, but I really don't. I buy bulk dinners from people who cook on the regular. I don't have to. I outsource a lot of stuff in order to be able to get to do the stuff that I get to do, but people are more okay with accepting what they think an image of a person is versus the truth. And the truth is that there's no way that I could do the stuff that I do if I didn't have a whole lot of help and support. Otherwise, I'd be a total mess.
And I've definitely been a total mess plenty of times, probably still halfway. And I think that for me, it's just been, it's like, first of all, I'm not a mental health professional, so I feel like a sense of freedom with that. And then also, like, it's just about being open and authentic. Like, up until I got diagnosed with bipolar, I always knew I had some issues with ADHD, but, like, I was scared to take medicine. So I just, I would go to counseling when shit hit the wall. Like, oh, it's real bad now. Like, let me go talk to somebody. And then I'll feel a little bit better and then just go off and do my whole thing. And it was like a little bit of a cycle. But it was like from seeing how I was reacting to people that really, like, cared about me. Like, dang, I'm mad at Andrea over, like, stuff that she trying to help me with. Like, and then my friend said it to me one time, like, because I also smoke a lot. Like, I got to admit that because we have an issue in this community with marijuana, right? So I was struggling with that. And my friend was like, a lot of people smoke and get up and do stuff, so it can't just be the weed. And it's just like clicked in my head, like, damn, you're right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I kept just blaming it on the weed. Like, man, this weed got me stuck. Like, da da da. I'm like, you been stuck for like a week. Like, the blunt didn't do all that. Yeah. And so that's when I finally went to a counselor. I got diagnosed with bipolar, and then we started taking medicine, which sucked. Medicine would even make me throw up one time in class. Like, and it's so embarrassing because I knew people thought I was drunk. Like, to this day, I feel like people thought I was drunk. Like, and it's like...
No, I thought you were pregnant. I didn't think you were drunk.
Don't worry, you'll know. You're going to halfway have to raise it. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But they thought something else other than she's adjusting to her mental wellness medicine. You know what I'm saying? Nobody think about that. And so I just, like, it was just so embarrassing to me. And, like, it's just... And then I was thinking about my sister who has, like I said, schizoaffective disorder and all this stuff. I used to see her on medication when I was younger, and he's like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a zombie. Like, I don't want to be this person. Like, as you see my personality, I was scared that the medicine would change me, or that I would rely on the medicine for my moods. Like, the only time I feel happy is if I take a pill, or, you know what I'm saying? I don't want that. But I have learned in the year that I've been on this medication, I even started a new medication today, Zoloft. I have learned that it creates the neurotransmitters that my brain can't do because I've been traumatized. How many people got left in the airport when they were 3? How many people did not get raised by their mom and dad? How many people watched their mom be on a porch having a mental breakdown? Or their mom suicide attempt? There's stuff that other people see and go through that you just have the luxury of not experiencing. Yeah. But it affects us. And like you're saying, even with your sister, we still got to show up. We still got to go to work. We still got to be on time. We still going to get written up. We still got to pay all these bills. Right. We have to take on all the things that a neurotypical person does and balance the stuff that we didn't pick this stuff. Right. We didn't go shopping for that brain. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it just got to a point, like I said, I had to like pull back and just really focus on me. But it's also just making me realize like how I could come back harder for the because like even like I hate that word mania and manic and all that shit. To me it really sounds like someone who doesn't have the diagnosis named it. Like I would,
of course,
I would just say sometimes I'm high level, sometimes I'm low level. I ain't no manic and all sort of stuff. I mean, that sounds like killer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
That's
I think
true.
that's why people be scared of these diagnoses, because they have these heavy words on it, and so you just think, oh, this girl gonna just go off one day and slit my throat.
Right.
I ain't worried about you like that. Like I'm jail ain't worth it for nobody. So those are not even how my thoughts work. I'm more likely to be in the house slitting my wrist than hurting you.
And that's the one that bridge that when people talk about mental illness and the levels of crime, less than 5% of the people who commit a crime are diagnosed with a mental illness. And we have to stop criminalizing mental health.
50% of the people who are mentally ill that interact with a cop will die.
Yes. So you're more likely to be harmed when you have a mental illness
Than an unarmed black man.
versus harming somebody else. So
they can't respond to commands, especially if they're in a state.
I mean, if you're in a cathartic state, or if you're not in a place where you feel safe, just like screaming that you're, and I don't watch the videos of any of the people who die while existing in blackness. It's just hearing about the fact that someone who is a valuable person was allowed to be strangled to death just on a subway, simply because he was hungry and probably a little bit delirious from not sleeping.
And maybe lashing out because he was afraid. And not crazy, I hate that word too, but seriously, the thing that's like so just mind blowing about that is that a lot of times mentally ill, they're lashing out like verbally. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they don't get a gun and load it up and come out and mass shoot. They're not fighting. They're not going around on a stabbing spree. They like ripping off their clothes, yelling, screaming. They're really inflicting more harm on themselves, you know, than anything. And so even this guy that you're referring to, he was just like yelling. He didn't touch nobody or nothing. So it's like, and even if I think about my birth mom now, whatever, I remember when I first started that process, I looked up her criminal record. She had been arrested over 16 times in Macon. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's just all such a waste of money.
Right.
It's all such a waste of like families. Like it's just like a lot to this mental health, wellness, illness journey. But I do think that we're making some type of progress.
I think in Macon that there's a concerted effort from several different places trying to address all the issues. I think that some of them are a little bit more disingenuous than others.
Perfunctory.
And because of how popularized the word mental health has become, then there are people who want to capitalize. And then there's also
that in black. It's gold mine.
That, and then the like people use these terms that like mania should not be something that's used in just regular conversation. It's a clinical term. One of the great things that we get to do through Making Mental Health Matters is that we don't have to quote unquote diagnose people in the same way that other people do, because our funding source is from a different place. It's also so much research behind the fact that pathologizing mental health does nothing to help somebody who has a mental health disorder.
Let me break that down a lot for y'all, because it's Dr. Cook, it's Nancy Joe, right?
Let's go.
So pathologize it. Like, okay, her mom used to be my therapist, so she had broke this down for me one time. Mm-hmm. So, and then I also took a class. I went to Syracuse University. I got my degree in advertising, which is why I ended up doing advertising and pop-up gyms, which was event marketing and advertising for the pop-ups. Like, so that was my angle coming in. But that's neither here nor there. Going back to pathologizing is the word. So when I first started going to her mom, she explained to me that sometimes we go go through depressing episodes. Sometimes we go through periods where we're anxious, but that doesn't mean we're an anxious person. That doesn't mean we're a depressed person. That's what pathologizing means. Like, people will create an identity around their mental illness, and that's not it. Right. Furthermore, if you treat your mental illness, it's not like you're gonna suffer it for the rest of your life. Right. Like, there's also a very, like, it's just we haven't done enough research to say something like that. And anyone that says otherwise is playing God. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if you actually take medication, or you change your diet, or you start exercising, or you move out of the place that's traumatizing you, you get away from your abuser, those things could lead you to a place where you're not suffering from what you're suffering from. Right. So you don't have to always be this anxious person. You don't have to always be this hyper person. You don't have to always be a sad person, whatever it is. And that's been my journey. Like, it's only been a year or going on 2. But I noticed the medicine, I don't have them lows. I done got so much done, boy. I got 2-3 businesses going, like, I'm functioning. And it's like the new medicine I'm taking is supposed to help me increase my serotonin levels, because I can't naturally produce a lot of serotonin, because from my childhood stuff was looking bleak.
Now, what's serotonin?
Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps you feel happy. So normally it can be produced from like petting a dog or something like that. There's a couple different happy neurotransmitter. Y'all hear a lot about dopamine. Right. But dopamine is like dope. It's stuff that, it's like a quick hit. It's a quick hit. That's why everybody's all tore up on social media.
Orgasm is dopamine.
Orgasm is definitely dopamine. And then oxytocin, that gets released when you give a good orgasm.
It's like it lessens your pain receptors.
Yes, so. And that's why, like, up until men have sex with women, men are crazy before sex and women are crazy after. That's because of the oxytocin. Yeah. Like, it's released way more in us after we have sex, and then it's like dissipating in y'all once y'all have it. Just to let y'all know if y'all having issues out there as well.
That's a nasty joke.
Mental health.
I wanted to ask, we were talking about the pop-ups and different things like that in the community, but what is a professional counselor? Like, how would you define a professional counselor?
Someone with a degree.
Someone with a degree.
That they didn't make on Canva.
That they did not make on Canva and that they earned. I think there's a lot of misconception, because sometimes people come into counseling demanding that they have a fully licensed therapist. All licensure means is that you've met the qualifications for the 3 years post-graduate school. So therapists in training are often people who have already obtained a bachelor's degree, and then they're in their second year of getting their master's degree. Nobody questions when you have someone come in a room and they're a doctor in training. Like, nobody questions that in a hospital. But oftentimes people question when there is a therapist in training who is helping you. And so those people are fully qualified, and they're also under the supervision of a fully licensed individual. So that's one way you can access services. The next is someone who's completed their master's. You are a full counselor per se. You're just not licensed. And so in the state of Georgia, you have to have 3 years post-graduate school, and then a certain amount of hours depending on whether or not you're a social worker, you're a mental health counselor, or if you are a marriage and family therapist. Then after those 3 years post-graduate school, then you can sit for a test and be licensed. So in order to be in our field, you have to do a whole lot of
school, education, accreditation.
And then there's follow-up training. And so we end up spending an exorbitant amount of money on keeping ourselves well-trained. And none of us are supposed to operate out of our scope of knowledge. And so...
Wait, can I add, please explain the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
Okay,
people get that messed up a lot.
A psychiatrist is an MD. So it's a medical doctor who's going through all of the... stuff, and I'm sorry, I have a cold, so I have post-nasal drip, and so I keep burping up the post-nasal. So anyway,
TMI.
I don't want somebody to think I'm as gaseous, but and a psychologist is someone who's gone through about 10 years of school, specifically focused on psychology in the mind. So, in some states, psychologists and psychiatrists can write prescriptions. There are some instances in the state of Georgia when that's possible, but a psychiatrist is a medical doctor. And they don't usually spend a whole lot of time talking to you.
No, they just want to give you the medicine, and then you talk to your therapist about how it's working. So if you do get prescribed, you're not going to get prescribed any medicine unless you go to a psychiatrist. Yeah. So half of the stuff that people are scared of, it ain't even going to happen. Yeah. And it's not easy to get to psychiatrists.
It's not. There's a huge shortage.
Most of the time, if you seek mental health, it's going to be a therapist or a counselor.
Yeah, it's going to be...
You're just talking.
And it's really going to be likely somebody who's a therapist in training.
Mm-hmm. So what specifically like qualifies you like to be a therapist? Are you like doing a enormous amount of listening? Do you have to have like patience? Like what kind of qualify? Like what do they kind of put y'all through to kind of qualify for?
Well, initially it's really the coursework. I think that a lot of us are drawn to. I mean, I was not drawn to it because of the same reasons. I mean, I was pretty much told in order to, continue to run my business, I needed to have this degree. But a lot of people come into the helping professions to heal themselves. And so you have to have a high level of compassion in order to be a good therapist. I mean, there are people who are in our field who are... who capitalize off of some of the services that you can get. So there's direct contracts with the state, with the feds that can get you a pretty good lifestyle. But there's, we don't hire a whole lot of people because they have to fit our company culture. If you're not willing to see people in a way that is, trauma informed, and if you're not willing to attempt to be culturally competent, then the Southern Center for Choice Theory is not a place where you will thrive. And so we try and make sure that we do a lot of weeding out and making sure that people have empathy and that they have completely met the qualifications for being a counselor. So in order to get into a school program, all of them require an interview. You have to take the GRE in order to be able to get into one of these programs. And then you go through 1 year of just theory. So you're going to go through all the basic qualifications of what it takes to be a counselor. And then in your second year, you have to do experiential work. So you're doing the coursework, and then you're also being watched by PhD level professors who quantify whether or not you're meeting the needs of your clients. And there are plenty of people who don't meet the needs and they don't graduate.
And what you mean by sympathy?
Well, not sympathy, empathy.
Yeah, empathy. My bad. Words.
They're both like a word. They're just
they're
not interchangeable.
Right.
But I don't want to understand that because I don't think I have that much of it, but I'm very understanding of people's issues.
Why don't you think you have much of it?
Huh?
Why don't you think you have much of it?
I don't know. When some people tell me about like little petty stuff, I just like,
Well, you might be able to sympathize but not empathize. Like for instance, like let's say a woman is pregnant, right? And she tells me her back hurts. Mm-hmm. I can sympathize, but I can't empathize. Like I've had back pain, but I've never been pregnant. So if I have been through what you've been through, I can empathize, and that's empathy. Like I can feel how you feel, but sympathy is more like I feel like bad that you feel that way. Yeah, I feel bad for you. Mm-hmm. So maybe you have some sympathy, but you don't have much empathy.
I mean, but you can develop and build more empathy. So there's this concept of emotional intelligence and you can learn emotional intelligence. And so Brene Brown does this. She has this really cool video of what it means to be empathic, or to have empathy or to show empathy. And it's really just being able to sit with somebody. You don't have to have
any special words.
Right, no special words, but just being present with somebody shows a level of empathy that something.
If anybody wants to master empathy, or like get a dog. They're the most empathetic creatures on the planet. I step Andrea's dogs because she don't love them like that. But no, seriously, like if you have a dog and if you cry, the dog will come to you. Dogs like will hold your head while you're having a seizure. You know what I'm saying? That they're naturally empathetic. That's why they call them man's best friend. It's the empathy. They can respond and read off of our energy and emotion, and that's really what empathy is. Like I may not have gone through what you're going through, but I could feel that pain with you. Like you know, like in New York when people was watching. This is not funny. I got my own issues. But when people were watching, right, I just gotta tell people, like, I just be laughing at nervous moments. I used to get in trouble in school for this, but I'm not laughing at the situation. It's just, I don't know. But when 9/11 happened, people was watching the TV crying hard in New York, but they was not even there. Like, it was just, like, the empathizing of, like, oh, my God, my fellow New Yorkers just got tore up. So there's different situations where you'll come out with that.
Is it because of that, or just, like, I can't believe somebody just did that?
I think it's also
our soil and anything possible.
Even if you wasn't in New York, I think you would have felt that way. But I know New Yorkers were like, oh my God, not New York. You know, we was nice for like a month after that. We was sharing blankets at Yankee Stadium. Then we went back to our normal records. But, you know what I'm saying? It was like a thing on the news. They was talking about it like, oh my God, New York. And my mom was crying. Like, it was hard to watch. So, and then I also wanted to say with training, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a licensed professional. I will not be a counselor. I just, got my own issues. I'm not trying to listen to everybody else's. But I did get certified in family. I went to National Alliance of Mental Illness and I got a certification in family to family. I forgot exactly what they call it, but basically they taught me how to deal with family members who had mental illnesses. And so I got that before I moved to Macon because I knew I was going to be dealing with my sister and my mom. And it was very interesting. It was like a 12-week course and there was all different type of people in there that had different family members that had a mental illness, whether it be your child, your sibling, some people's husbands or wives, or came out of nowhere with it. It was like a lot of stuff. And we learned how to create boundaries, how to deal with that person, how to seek help, things like that. And in my own research, I've learned that you can get other certifications. Like there's a certification that you can get if you have a mental illness and you want to be a mental health advocate. They have certifications for that. And then Andrea does mental health first aid trainings. And she does them for free, and they ain't for free everywhere. And so you could become like a person that recognizes and knows what to do when people are having issues. There's a nonprofit based out of it. Well, they have a place in Atlanta, but I think they may have come from Chicago. Either way, it's called the Confess Project, and they train barbers to be mental health advocates because that's usually where Black men talk about their stuff. So when they'll train the barbers, and then when you go to your barber, they'll be able to help you get connected to resources. And then my friend even started a nonprofit called Vanity, and she trains beauty professionals. So like makeup artists and hair, because if a woman's getting abused or something like that, they're usually the first people to see it, or they'll talk about what's going on there. So I think all of that is expanding because, we can't all be a therapist. We're not all going to get through 10 plus years of training. We don't all even want to, right?
Yeah.
But there's different ways for us to advocate and be leaders and to get our people to positions where they're healthier.
I agree.
I can shop the hip right quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you got more
What?
questions that you...
Oh, no, I was about to wrap it up.
Oh, do you feel like females are more not sensitive, but... I mean, how can I word it?
More inclined to go get mental health treatment?
Not mental health, but... Because all these people you naming, you saying she, but why you feel like it more females
involved in mental health?
Yeah, go there.
Okay, one thing I want to say because I'm shady. I just named the whole nonprofit that's made by men for men.
You said
called
one.
the Confess Project. Now, that is one, but I'm a Black female, so I mean, I didn't really need to search out men resources. But that's why I don't know, because I looked up the resources that kind of fit me and my genre. But it's ironic because we're actually having a panel on that, and we talk about that all the time. From an advertising perspective, because remember, I'm not a professional mental health person. Okay, from advertise perspective, it's the marketing, literally down to the font and the colors. I have not seen many mental health services advertised that really reach men. Usually men use dark colors, big bold fonts, sans serif, very little information, very little pictures, no swirls, no lights, no pictures, no flowers. Women, we're the ones designing the stuff a lot. We're also more, no offense, more highly educated. So it's a lot of us getting the degrees, and then we're the ones seeking the people to make the flyers for us. So you have a woman's eye looking at everything. We're the ones writing the commercial, who are making the Facebook page, what you just told us to do. We not, right? All that. So we the ones that are gonna go do it, and it's women doing it. So it comes out feminine. Mm-hmm. So what I would suggest, if people are trying to reach more men, two things. One, hire a male designer to design your marketing materials, because they're going to just have a different eye and way of doing things, you know? And then two, give incentives directly to men. So I once had a very successful pop-up gym that almost all men attended, but I did it in the back of a barbershop and I gave out free haircuts. So
you could help.
No, the barber did. Like, so I gave out certificates. I mean, I can't if y'all want me to practice. Nobody lets me do that. Right. I just we'll talk about it later, you know? But anyway, I partnered with the barber. Shout out to Brandon. What I'm talking about, Brandon Harold, them on Greenwood Bottom. I partnered with him. Let's say, and this is not the exact pricing, but let's say it was $20 per head. He charged me like half of it, so I paid him for half, and he cut 10 heads for me. And I made like a little certificate, and so the first 10 men that showed up, I gave them the certificate. And some people went right then and there and got it. Some people saved it, or gave it to their son, whatever they did. But when I tell you, men came out for that, and I don't know how they found out about it. You know what I'm saying? But I think my advertising was still a little girly. I just put a man on the flyer, a black man instead, or whatever. And even some of the ads, the benches I've done, I've only put black men. I'm kind of partial to my race. Everybody is welcome to use our services though. But so it's really like that. Like even like look at this studio, if y'all can see it. A woman didn't decorate this.
Exactly.
Like I can look at that. Like, it's not about budget. It's not about budget. We could have had the same budget and we would not put this stuff in here. So it's like you gotta kind of go to the source when you're trying to advertise, and because it's such a heavy dominated women profession, and that also I think admit that they might need help. It just becomes very female. It looks very female based, but y'all are suffering. So y'all need to get it together. Y'all need to figure out how to advertise to each other.
I don't think it's that, because guys are more simple. That's the thing. Because looking at something that just colorful all over the place, we'll immediately turn away from it because it's too much. Like you advertising something, you trying to give, like you hiding a message. Like I don't know what it is. Don't you agree? Like when it's just like simple is more.
Yeah.
In the guys.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying.
I see it in your designs, especially because I know like male designers. Like it's different. Y'all will put impact font.
It'll just be clear,
pop-up gym,
concise.
So the location small as I don't know what at the bottom, because if you really want to come, you'll read that. Yeah. And like a date. And maybe a picture like on the side, but it's not going to be colorful and all the other whoop-de-whoop. And also font. I'm sorry, font choice is really important. A lot of women use like a lot of like swirly, girly. Yeah, it's girly, and and you just have to admit it. Like it's hard to see, but I went to school for this so I could see it a little bit better. But it's like that's you got to pick more like thick. This is a great font if y'all can see this. All right, this is like a thick, plain Helvetica. Go Helvetica. There you go.
That is. I think that men need to see representation. I think that has been a big issue in the conversation, and I think that because in Black and Brown communities, women have had to stand up on their own so much. Not so much as like just exclusively raising children. That's not what I mean, because the CDC did just issue a new report that shows that Black fathers are actually more in their child's lives than other races. But
Shout out to black men.
But but there's a different narrative about how black men interact with their children. And so, but I think that it's one of the panel discussions that we're having is based off of, we had this joint conversation between Making Violence Prevention and Making Mental Health Matters for an on the table conversation, and there were like 12 women in the room and 2 men, and there was a question posed specifically about men accessing, why don't they share and express their feelings? And 7 of the women in the room jumped in to respond to this question.
Can you say a couple of them?
But they're not qualified. Why wouldn't the men answer?
So,
how you gonna ask a woman? Why would a woman answer? Why a man wouldn't answer?
7 women in this room answered for the men, and then what was about to happen is that they were going to just move on to the next question. And I'm like, I just raised my hand in the back. I mean, it was my own table. I just wasn't leading it. And I said, I think that it's amazing that, we just went around the room and no one found it strange that both men were very quiet as the women were responding to this question that was specifically about men. And they were going to be quiet and let the conversation move on without us actually getting a response from a man. And so I brought it up and I said, so y'all not gonna y'all not gonna answer? And they both were like, so it was the mayor and then the MVP coordinator both said, well, y'all answer for us. So what that said to us is that y'all didn't want to hear what we had to say. And so I think that it's gonna take a deliberate effort, because most of the women in that room were black women. And so we have been conditioned to believe that we always know best and that what we say matters more than, and I'm a complete feminist, so don't get it twisted. But sometimes it's important to step back a moment and say that maybe I don't always know what's best, and let me hear what people have to say. And so based off of that on the table, we are now doing a men and mental health lunch and learn, where I think now we're up to 8 men who want to have this conversation and who want to answer the questions. And
we going?
Yeah, I sure hope y'all come. It's at Just Tapped on May 19th from 12 to 2. And lunch will be served, and I gave them carte blanche, whatever they want to. I mean, all those details I'm not interested in. So, but there will be vegetarian options. But I'm highly interested in hearing what they have to say about why some of them have sought out mental health services and why some of them have not. And so we have 3 clergy members that'll be there. And some of them, or at least one of them, has a whole mental health program in their church. So that pastor sees the value in mental health, and that's Paul Little. I mean, they have that next level development, and he fully supports having God and a counselor too. So I hope y'all can come and if y'all want to interview people and some outtakes, or just be present for the conversation. But the week before that, we're doing women in mental health, and Nancy's sitting on that panel. And then we're also doing,
I want to be on a relationship one too.
You can come to the relationship one on Friday. On the 26th. And so this is a relationship conversation, and they're all happening at Just Tap.
So just to rewind, there'll be 3 mental health panels this month. There will be one on May 12th at 12 at Just Tapped on women's mental health. There will be one on the 19th. Is it also at Just Tap?
Just Tap. All
they're all at Just Tap. It's also at 12?
12 to 2.
At 12 to 2 for men's mental health. And I should definitely be there for that since you got all these questions. And then on the 26th, there'll be the final panel, which will be on relationships and mental health. Because we all done dated a crazy girl. It was me.
We don't use that stigmatizing word of crazy. Okay.
Or a crazy man. Because,
Hey, I don't want to go back. It's like fast forward. But he also said, why he didn't answer was because y'all jumped to it, and it was just 2 guys. What if they didn't want to argue?
I'm sure they
shouldn't
did.
have felt that way.
But it was very
No.
clear.
I know that they felt that way, but that's what she's saying. Like, women need to learn how to shut up. She said it way different, but like, shut up. Like, y'all all, like, not y'all, we're often complaining about how a man, oh my God, look at this advice. We're often complaining about how a man doesn't open up to us or doesn't express his feelings, but we very rarely give you the space. Mm-hmm. And it's the way we've reacted over other little things, right? So if you told me that, you know, let's see, like, I don't know, what would be something that's not that bad that you did? Let's say...
You changed your password without telling me what the password is.
Nah, that's different.
Profile picture.
That's different. That's different.
I haven't posted you on Facebook.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's talk about that because social media messing us up. You didn't post me on Facebook. You didn't post me on Valentine's Day. You didn't like my picture. You didn't whatever you didn't do. Right now, I done blown up about that. I done cussed you out, blocked you, thrown the flowers in your face when you try to show up at the door. I'm not gonna talk to you for a week, and then finally we make up, right? And now we back together. So now, you know, you lose your job or you feel depressed or something is like not off. You're not gonna go tell your girl, cause look how she acted when you forgot to post her. So how's she gonna react if you tell her like you feeling suicidal? Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's the reason why our men aren't speaking. And I'm sorry to all the black men that I've heard out there because I've definitely been that person. But it's like people traumatize people. They were talking about hurt people. Trauma people traumatize people, man. It's like you got your own trigger because I might feel like you don't like that insecurity might be coming out. Like you're not proud of me. You don't want to show me off or you're ashamed of me or you cheating. You got other women out there checking your page and you can't show one girl attention when you got the other starting five. So that's where that comes from. So it's like we gotta do our work so we're not putting our trauma on the relationship. That's why that 50-50 thing got us messed up. Like it's not about me bringing 50% and you bringing 50%. That's why we all messed up right now. It's about me bringing 100 and you bringing 100, and then we enjoy 100 together because we've done the work to heal before we jumped into this thing.
Yeah, that's anything else?
That was beautiful, man. I appreciate you guys giving your time and, you know what I'm saying, spreading some mental health awareness. Anything else going on the rest of the year you guys got going?
In July is BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month.
Every second Saturday we do pop-up gyms. So this Saturday, the 13th.
Child, don't give me the line. I'm not sure.
Go to makingmentalhealthmatters.com.
It's in Frank Johnson.
When your birthday?
July 13th.
Oh, no,
July 13th.
I'm July 10th. Okay. I'm going to Vegas.
We ain't gonna say year.
I'm going to Vegas. You should come.
Nah.
You don't want to do Vegas? Fine. I'll be out there. It's so funny. Oh, okay. But it's so funny. Like, my Paige's birthday is the 13th, and she got a new man. Shout out to Paige and her new man. Okay. And his birthday is the 14th. So my birthday's the 10th. So we just gonna be out there all week.
Yeah,
birthday
have fun.
and I know, right?
Birthday in Vegas.
Right. But, makingmentalhealthmatters.com. Follow on Facebook. Go to the website. And Making Headspace is on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It will be on TikTok.
Very soon?
Very, very soon. Okay? So, yeah. I'm excited about these expansions. Thank you for the suggestions.
Yes. Because we're not on Instagram.
We're not.
Not making it up.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I ain't got time for that. Somebody's got to do it. I'm sorry. I ain't doing it.
But yeah.
Especially TikTok.
Yeah, man. Talk a Lot Pod, episode 7. Peace.
And here peace. Why you laughing? You bust out laughing at him too.